when you start playing chess too far ahead, it makes everything seem contrived. Fight fans don't want that. This is not the WWE. This is a sport. You have to win to move forward.
Welcome into boxing scene's top stories here on ProBox TV. Well, Turkey ALALSHIKH right now, the biggest force promotionally in boxing. Well, guess what? When it comes to Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois, it looks like we might get a pay-per-view discount. That's right. He's talked about dropping the price to a mere $20, a far cry from the 80 to 100 you're paying nowadays for a pay-per-view. Jimmy Smith in studio, joined, of course, by Chris Algieri. Chris, when you look at this, a discount, I guess he's offering right now. Is it an attempt to fight the piracy we've seen rampant in pay-per-views, and do you think it works?
I don't know if it's a way to fight the piracy, because listen, if you're going to $20 is still $20. You're going to steal it. You're going to steal it. Free is better than 20. For people who are stealing and are willing to do that. So I think it's more about just making boxing more affordable. Which case, just make it free. I mean, if you're losing money in these shows anyway, I don't understand even the $20 as the barrier to entry for some people. And again, if people can steal and get it for free, they're going to, even if it's $1. So, but I do like this idea. I mean, it's becoming. There's going to be a barrier to entry for the sport if you have to pay every month for these fights. To see the best fights in the world, it's very difficult to build stars when you've got a price tag on watching your favorite fighters, when you've got to spend hundreds of dollars a year, which is very difficult for a lot of people for something that is essentially a niche sport. It's a hobby to be a fan. And to see these fights, going to fights is very expensive. Watching fights is very expensive. So I like the idea of cutting the price. But again, why 20? Why not 0? I don't understand. Make it free. Make it free. Do free for a year. Let everyone get to understand who these fighters are. Build up their market value. Build up their fan base, and then maybe start charging a premium after that. But I do like the idea that it's allowing fight fans to watch their favorite fighters at a discount, at a price tag that's not exorbitant, that's not keeping them from being able to watch their favorite fighters.
Now, Chris, you and I have discussed about this, the ripple effect of boxing economics. You said before, when PBC was throwing a lot of money at fighters, you had opponents coming in and demanding double the money that they would normally get because PBC was paying so much money. These kinds of things, they affect the whole realm of boxing. What do you think this $20 does, in a sense? Does it force other promotions or other pay-per-views to do the same thing? What's your thought on it?
Well, I mean, listen, again, you talk about the ripple effect on the market, and overblowing purses affects the market for fighters, as you said, and as we've talked about off air. Overblowing pay-per-views also changes the market because it almost becomes an escalation, race where oh, you're going to charge 80, well, I'm going to charge 90, well, we're going to charge 100. Well, now we're going the other way, so now we're going to charge 20. What is that going to have? What kind of effect is that going to have on the marketplace for the other pay-per-views that are out there? I don't see the other pay-per-view distributors drastically slashing their prices in order to be competitive. They still need to make their money. It's a very different source of money and resources that Turkey ALALSHIKH and Riyadh Season has compared to the other promotion and other pay-per-view providers that we have. So I'm curious to see how this plays out, but also I'm curious to see what the buys are now. If it's $20, are the buys going to go through the roof? Are we now going to be having a million buys again? Or are we going to stick with the 75,000 to 100,000, 200,000? Are we going to see the $1.3 million, 1.3 million pay-per-view buys again because the price has been slashed? So this is new. We got to see how this is going to play out, but I'm very curious to see how this affects the market moving forward.
Now, one thing we have seen also, Turkey ALALSHIKH fond of putting the cart before the horse about certain fights. Remember, of course, Terence Crawford versus Canelo. Well, now he's talking about Anthony Joshua taking on Tyson Fury, a fight that's been talked about for years before, of course, Fury fights Usyk for the second time. Is this one of those fights that's just evergreen, where it doesn't really matter how either guy looks in their fight? Or is he once again putting the cart before the horse when both guys have tough fights in front of them?
We keep using that term, cart before the horse, and it always refers to Turkey. So I'm going to call it Turkey before the cart or Turkey before the horse, because Turkey's making these claims that these are the fights that he wants to make. He's snake bitten quite a few fights. He did this in the Wilder fight. It was Wilder versus Zhang, and he says, I want to make Wilder and Joshua next. I think that's the biggest fight possible, and then Zhang knocks out Wilder. So that fight got thrown away. This is a potential to happen again. But also it changes the value of certain fights, not only in terms of monetary value, but in terms of fans and their value that they attach to a fight. If you got two guys coming off a loss and they're fighting, yeah, we want to see Tyson and Joshua. And do we want to see them regardless of they win or lose? It lacks some of the loss there. It takes some of the shine off the fight. Also, and I've said this before on other in other places on our air, that when you start playing chess too far ahead, it makes everything seem contrived. Fight fans don't want that. This is not the WWE. This is a sport. You have to win to move forward. It's almost like a tournament style. You win here, you win there, you fight in that final or that championship level fight. So if you have people who are playing and pulling strings and saying, no, this is the fight that's going to happen, it looks much more like the WWE in terms of we're going to figure out where we're going to get there. It doesn't really matter how we get there, but we're going to get there. We're going to make that fight regardless. We got to remember this is a sport, people. So, and then also that opens the door for controversy. Now, if a fight has a controversial decision, it could have gone either way, and then the guy that we were told was going to fight the next guy happens, it makes things very, very dicey, and that's not good for us as a sport. It looks more like entertainment rather than an actually competitive fight.
Well, that's right. Some interesting things even before we get into two very big heavyweight fights. Thank you so much, Chris. We'll see how it works out, of course, when the fights actually happen. And before and after, you can see the results here on ProBox TV. We'll be breaking it down, all the boxing news, and something that's going to generate a lot of news. Canelo next week. Don't miss it.
He's the pride of Guadalajara, the Mexican maestro, the unified super middleweight champion of the world, Canelo Alvarez. His challenger, undefeated knockout artist and pride of Puerto Rico, Edgar Berlanga. It's prime time.
Canelo versus Berlanga, plus Lara versus Garcia, Saturday, September 14th, live on PBC pay-per-view on Prime Video.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.